The following program is a paid presentation from the California Elder Law Center. The information and opinions expressed herein are solely those of the California Elder Law Center and are not the opinions of K-News, Alpha Media, management, or employees.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elder Answers. This is the show where we get together every week and we discuss the major issues facing seniors in the United States today. Hi, everybody. This is Michael McGuire, elder law attorney with the California Elder Law Center, bringing you Elder Answers. You know, over and over again, we see certain patterns, and this year has been a year, I guess, that the patterns have emerged probably more than at any time in my entire 25, 26-year career. And that what I'm talking about is people reach a certain stage in their lives in which these issues of estate planning and long-term care and getting ready for maybe what some would consider to be inevitable or to be protected from what could happen, all those kind of issues cause a lot of anxiety in a middle-class family. Especially if you have a situation where either it falls into two categories, either two people are together, their spouses perhaps, and they're starting to notice and to experience and to protect each other because one of them is starting to fail in some way. Whether that issue manifests itself as something physical or an illness or a lack of mobility or frailty, or it could be a cognitive issue. It's becoming more and more apparent that that particular individual is facing some issues that really need to be addressed and they need to really be protected. Of course, that means for that couple, their lives are going to change. Their lives are going to change, and there is a ongoing, relentless pressure of anxiety that continues to creep into the awareness, at least for the spouse that is the well spouse, as far as what exactly is going to happen if something happens to me. What happens to my life partner here if I'm not here to protect them, to prepare the meals, to make sure they take their meds on time, to get them to the doctor, to run over to the grocery store, load up the larder, to have a week of meals planned. What happens if we need to get to the drugstore and get the prescriptions picked up? How do we get to the doctor's office? How do we make the appointments to the doctor's office? All of these things start to add pressure in a person's life when the well spouse is the one who is caring for somebody who's beginning to manifest a higher need, a need to be protected. Causes a lot of stress. It could be a very, very difficult phase of your life and your relationship to be going through something like that. And yet it becomes almost a need to fulfill the vows that you took so many years ago and to make sure that your loved one is protected, to make sure that you're there for them every step of the way. And of course, everybody makes the assumption that they are going to be the one that will prevail. They're the one that's going to survive whatever is up ahead. But I've got news for you. 45% of the time, according to AARP, 45% of the time, the well spouse passes away first. The well spouse passes away first. And now you are going to witness the true definition of chaos. You are going to witness a family in crisis. You are going to witness suddenly children that are remote from where mother and father live, children that are in another state, that are perhaps in another part of the country. And now you have a situation flare up in which we're desperately trying to figure out, what do we do next? How do we take care of this? What are we going to do? How are we going to preserve a quality of life and to protect the spouse who has survived out of the couple? There's another class of individuals. Those are the individuals that they're called the unbefriended. They're called orphan seniors. These are people who really don't have a spouse in their lives, who don't have a partner, and they don't have any family. They don't have an extended brood of children somewhere that have come racing to their aid. In fact, they may not have any children, or their children are just really not part of their lives anymore. It happens. It happens. And so now that person is out here. They've retired. They cut all their ties to wherever they came from, whether it was the Southern California, Northern California, maybe it was from the Pacific Northwest. Wherever it was, they came here to retire. The years have passed, and now they're alone. Now they are facing what is a real crisis as far as they are concerned, and in reality, because they're desperately trying to figure out who's going to take care of me, who's going to protect me, how am I going to be safe, what is going to happen to me if I take a turn and I need to be, I don't know, placed in a facility for a while just to recuperate, or maybe even worse, I need to be in a facility permanently. How do I get there? How do I choose one? Who checks on me? And so all these issues arise later in our lives, and they arise during a period of time in which we're really not a major player in our own decisions. Either we have a cognitive impairment or a physical impairment, or we're just really not in a position to feel comfortable making those decisions on our own because we don't know where to turn to, or we don't know who to talk to, and we don't have anybody we can trust to protect us. And so an individual that's faced with some of these issues, or a couple that's faced with these kind of issues, really has a growing sense of anxiety. And I think the biggest thing that we could do for you here on Elder Answers is to sort of let you know that, you are not alone. Okay, you're not the Lone Ranger. These are issues that other people have faced, and they've come to a conclusion of different ways to solve those kinds of issues. There are ways, there are strategies that you can employ, and any middle-class family can employ, in order to assure that if they go into a phase of their lives in which they're going to need some help, there are solutions available to you. Now, part and parcel of having some kind of a strategy is that you need to, as I had a good friend in Long Beach, his father used to tell him, he said, Frank, don't be hard to help. You need to have documentation that authorizes the people that you trust and love in your life to be able to move forward and to execute the plan that you want as far as your care is concerned. Now, I don't have to be much of a soothsayer or a fortune teller to be able to know that you'd really rather stay at home. I think everybody universally agrees to that. But unfortunately, in America, most people, unfortunately, and I don't know any other word to use, they pass away in institutional environments 80% of the time. 8 out of 10 times, people don't pass away in their home. They pass away in an institution staring up at fluorescent light bulbs in the ceiling. And that's not something that any of us want. That's something that all of us want to avoid. But we need to have some level of infrastructure to be able to accomplish that. Now, sometimes that infrastructure comes from your adult children. They're right there. They live down the street. That's great. And it's great if those children are the kind of individuals that are able to and see themselves as caregiving type individuals. Not everybody is. It's not their fault. Not every family is made up of all caregivers, believe me. In fact, over the years of doing this, I've come to the conclusion I should never try to guess when they're all sitting in a room trying to help mom or dad or the two of them together, that I should not try to guess who in the crowd is the caregiver. I've been wrong more than I've ever been right. I don't know how many times I've been sitting there and I'm talking to, or one of the people in the room is, for instance, a nurse over at the hospital. Maybe she's an operating room nurse. She is disciplined, she is experienced, and she has to be emotionally tough to be able to be a nurse and to be able to handle the compassion that's necessary for nursing. And during this pandemic, we found out how important nursing is to the entire medical system. We all owe a debt to nurses. But you don't know if that's going to be the caregiving child. Because I've seen the nurse that is the OR nurse simply is not a caregiver. mentally or emotionally. However, the CPA son that you would have thought would certainly fulfill the role of not being a caregiver, but of being the numbers guy, actually is the caregiver. There's only one in the crowd. That seems to be the quota that everybody gets in their family. And so it's better to recognize all those kind of issues and talk about them ahead of time, because the burden is going to fall so often on one, maybe two together, but that's going to be about it. And your concern is that, am I going to have the backup team I need to take care of me and help me weather the storm, either temporarily or permanently? If I'm here alone, if I don't have anybody else in my life, what am I supposed to do? How do I go about doing that? And that's why dealing with people that have a reputation for integrity, that have a depth of experience, is your first number one criteria. That's your number one concern. It's the quality of your care that you want to be assured of. It's the quality of the care that is going to make the difference during the last phase of your life, as far as that being an experience that is full of love and comfort and spirituality, or is that going to be a period of time of abysmal loneliness and mistreatment and lack of dignity? And so you need to have those kind of resources in your life. It's not just magic papers from an attorney in a binder. That's not the answer for you. The answer for you, if you care about yourself, your family, your spouse, is that you want to make sure that the empowerment is there to weather the storm, because there's going to be a storm, I can assure you. I can assure you, you're going to be confronted with a whole series of issues that are almost unbelievable in today's world. You're going to have to assert yourself during a period of time in which you are incapable of asserting yourself. During a period of time in which you're incapacitated, and that incapacity may be permanent, or it may be an in and out kind of an issue. And you want to know today, where you're sitting, that those that you are counting on are in a position to be able to help you execute the quality of life you want, and or you are surrounded by professionals that can reach out with resources and protect you during that phase of your life.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire, Elder Law Attorney with the California Elder Law Center, and you're listening to Elder Answers. Today we're talking a little bit about the process that each and every one of us should be going through, not wasting our energy on anxiety, but putting our focus and energy into quality planning, to having an idea of how we want the end of our lives to go, how we want to have options during that period of time, and how we want to be safe. We want to be protected. We want to be cared for appropriately. I must tell you, you must be very cognizant of the fact that in today's world, It's a very complicated maze. It's become of course, it has become so much more complicated because of the pandemic we've been facing for this past year, and we are going to continue to face it. We shouldn't delude ourselves. I have an unending series of issues coming through my door of my office of people who have either been stricken with COVID or their spouse has been taken from COVID due to COVID, or their friends have been hospitalized and have barely survived the process of COVID. But there's always this need to move forward. And there's always now a level of anxiety when people come into the office and they really want to get an answer. They really want to get an answer to their questions, and they really want to do something. And that's where you should be. That's where your head should be, is to take some action that protects you, that enhances the quality of your care, because you're on your own out there now. The system is overburdened, and the system was never much to brag about or to write home about anyway, believe me. And now it's far more impersonal, to say it as nicely as possible. You can't count on your financial institutions and being there to back you up. Now, yes, your money is safe. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that those financial institutions have turned out not to be so beneficial for clients, not to have been so helpful. And there's a reason for that. The reason these financial institutions are doing such a poor job servicing their clients is not because the people that work for them are in some way deficient, except for the fact they haven't been trained properly. They don't have any depth of experience working for these places. They haven't been there for years. They don't know the customers coming into the bank anymore. Those days are all gone. The day that Herb knew you through the Kiwanis or Rotary or through church or through your synagogue, those days are gone. They don't know who your kids are. They don't ask about your well-being. They don't call you out by name. What they are is poorly trained because the banks, the financial institutions, are no longer interested in training their employees. They're just interested in grinding out their levels of profitability every day and making more money on top of more money. It's as simple as that. And so what ends up happening is that you and your family have your hands tied when it comes down time to operate within these financial institutions to protect your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, sometimes your child. And so it becomes necessary for you to make sure your documentation flows appropriately in interacting with these places. If you want your kids to be able to help you, they need to be able to come into town, perhaps they live elsewhere, and to be able to function. And that can be a challenge. It's unfortunate, but that's just the world you live in now. And so the responsibility to make sure this works out right is yours. It's your responsibility to make sure your documents are up to date, to make sure they're going to be effective in this world that we live in now. And how do you do that? Well, first you review. If you have a trust, for instance, you want to make sure it works in the world today. It answers the two questions that you really need to have answered. What happens when I die? That was probably the reason you started off getting a trust. Or if you didn't get a trust, you just got a will. You thought that would take care of it. You want to know what the implications of that are. And you want to know if you did that document 10, 15, 20 years ago, is it effective? Is it going to work? Does it work in the world that we all live in today? We live in today. We don't live in 1992 any longer. And certainly your kids want to know, if you want them to help you, that you at least tried to make sure and smooth the way for them to do exactly that. But you can do that. That's available to you. Now, you got to have a consultation with somebody that has an understanding of those issues. In our world here in the California Elder Law Center, you can get a consultation. We no longer are able to do our workshops, but we'll do a consultation for you. Now, you do have to call 760-422-0404, 422-0404, and we'll make arrangements. It requires you to fill out an intake form and submit that ahead of your free appointment. We're doing this at no charge as a public service to you so that we will review your documents and make any suggestions if it's appropriate that you might want to consider either adding something into your documents to make them more effective today or to be prepared for something that may arise tomorrow. And what could be the arise tomorrow part? What could that be? Well, for instance, you may want to see if there's any sources of public benefits that could accrue to you to help pay for perhaps your long-term care, either at home, in an assisted living or a board and care, or perhaps in a nursing home. Now, there's very limited public benefits in the United States when it comes to getting any kind of care in your home. And a lot of those benefits are driven and controlled by income. Income is the big driver. The issue is not so much assets, it's income. Now, there are available some supplemental care programs available here in California, and you must have a rather modest income, to tell you the truth. There is a program that's available to veterans, and amazingly enough, the spouses of veterans, that could pay up to $2,200 a month tax-free to pay for care in your home. Care in your home. And that kind of a benefit accrues to a group of veterans who served during a declared period of war. These would be veterans who served during the period of time that represents World War II, Korea, Vietnam, or the Gulf. Now, when you come in for your consultation, or you can go on our website, www.cal-elder-law.com, cal-elder-law.com, and those dates are available to you right there on the website. And if you served one day during those declared dates of the periods of war, and you served 90 days consecutive active duty, then you are eligible for benefits that could be worth as much as $27,000 a year tax-free to help pay for your long-term care. Amazingly enough, that benefit can accrue to a spouse of a veteran, either living or the surviving spouse of a veteran. I will tell you that my father served in the Army Air Corps during World War II. Subsequent to that, he passed away. Unbeknownst, he never did anything with his VA benefits. But he passed away, and then several years later, my mother, she needed to have use the facility of an assisted living facility. She needed to avail herself of an assisted living facility. It was no longer safe for her to be at home. And as a result, because of his military service, those many years ago, during World War II, she was able to access a benefit that was worth $1,200 a month, tax-free, to help pay for her stay in a beautiful assisted living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'll tell you, that went on for 5 years. 5 years. Now, does $1,200 a month pay for being in an assisted living, especially a high-end one? The answer to that is no. Oh, no, it does not. But I will tell you, it makes the burden of paying for care far lighter on the individual senior, the couple, and or the adult children trying to protect their mother or father. And at that time, you want to know what those rules are. You want to know that somehow, some way, when you walked in and you talked to an estate planning attorney, you also were talking to somebody that understands how those programs work, because you may avail yourself to those programs, not when you've passed away, but while you were alive. That's when the need arises. The need is today. It's not 10 years from now or 50 years from now. I'm not talking about a legacy. I'm talking about me. And so if you think that kind of an issue of having those kind of plans set up for you, or at least have a conversation that expands your understanding of how that will impact the quality of your care if you are a veteran, or if you are the spouse of a veteran, or if you are the surviving spouse of a veteran, then you really want to avail yourself of a consultation. That's available to you. Given the pandemic restrictions, we can no longer do our workshops where we would have explained all this to a group of people. But I am willing to do that kind of work for the public because it's necessary, because you need it, because it's to your benefit, and it will make the outcome of your care exactly what you were hoping for, that you will get the quality of care that you need and deserve and not go broke doing it. So pick up the phone and call 760-422-0404. 760-422-0404. Do yourself a favor. If you can't remember the phone number, go to the website cal-elder-law.com. There's lots of information. You can actually make your appointment through the website. So we've tried to make this as easy as possible for you to provide you with information. The key for you making quality decisions, both for you and your family, for making sure you're protected, making sure your spouse is protected, is to have good quality information that will allow you to get access to something that you may have earned either through your military service and or as a taxpayer over the course of your life.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire at the California Elder Law Center, bringing you Elder Answers. This is a show that is designed to educate you, to share information that is accurate, up-to-date, and effective. Effective for a middle-class family to address the issue of long-term care, perhaps, quality estate planning, perhaps, to start the conversation off with, what happens when I die? You tried to do that, come up with that answer when you went out and got yourself perhaps a living trust or an estate plan, or if you haven't done that, you were just thinking about it. Maybe you have a will that you got online or something, and you're hoping and praying that that's going to be enough. But there's something nagging in the back of your head about that, isn't there? There's something that continues to pop up in the back of your head. I went to a place that said you don't need an attorney. You can just do this stuff on your own, or you can do it here online. That's fine. And yet the stories are legion for the fails that take place in that kind of an approach to what can be a complicated issue. It's not that it's impossible for you to understand how it works. I know that's the truth because for the last 25 years, I've been educating you about it. I know that you can understand it. You just need somebody that will do it in a way that you can assimilate, that you can understand. You don't need to hear a bunch of mumbo jumbo. You don't need that to Philadelphia lawyer 50-cent words. What good does that do you? What you want to know is, how does this stuff work? What's the impact on me? How do I protect my spouse? How do I protect somebody in my family? Maybe a grandchild, maybe a child that needs to be protected. How do I do all that How do I make sure that my family doesn't have to go through the probate process, spend thousands and thousands of dollars needlessly, and take 18 to 24 months to do a simple thing that a trust could have done in a matter of weeks rather than in a matter of years? So that's what you're talking about when you did that trust originally, but there was nothing in the conversation, frankly, about you when you think about it. There was nothing about you. There was nothing about you facing a $10,000 a month bill at a nursing home. And by the way, the average cost to be in a nursing home in California currently is $10,298 a month. A month. First of the month, just like rent. And that number comes out every March and April, and it'll go up. It usually goes up by around 5%. So it won't be long. We'll be catching up to the East Coast, where the cost of care for 1 month ranges anywhere from $12,000 to $14,000 a month. And I would tell you, the approach that most of these places take is to allow you to dissipate all your life's assets, and when you're dead bang broke, then seek public benefits for you, but not before. And that's a tragedy, because the reality is that the system is set up to help pay for that care for you because it's classified as being a catastrophic illness. And a catastrophic illness is defined not by your assets, not by the amount of money you have in a savings account, not by your IRA, not by the value of your home, but it is characterized by your income. If your income is less than $10,298 a month, your income is less than the cost of your care, you are eligible for help to pay for long-term care in a skilled nursing facility in California. That's right. You can keep your house, you can keep your retirement account, you can keep a car, you can keep your personal effects, you can keep a prepaid burial plan. There's more things you can keep than you ever dreamt about if you know how to structure your protective trust that takes into account everything that includes income and assets and your ability to pay. And so when you go through this process, you want to be talking to somebody that's done this before, somebody that understands the ramifications of you may very well pass out of this world without ever seeing the inside of a nursing home. And I hope for everybody I talk to, that's how it works. But I know better because I've been doing this for 25 years at the California Elder Law Center. I know how this looks. I know how difficult this is to do if you waited until the last minute, or you didn't wait at all. You just delivered this problem and burden on your kids, on your family. And that's what ends up happening more times than not. It's just putting it off and pretending like it's not an issue. I don't want to face this issue. I don't want to think about this issue, so I'm not going to do anything about this issue. But then what ended up happening is the financial devastation you delivered to your wife or to your husband or to your partner is so overwhelming, is so shocking. You're really in a situation in which you don't participate in this process anymore. Everybody else is scrambling, trying to figure out how to take care of you. And while that's going on the one hand, there's the issue of who's taking care of the quality of your care. It's one thing to worry about and get all sticky over the money, but how about the quality of your care? Is there anybody there to protect you when you're in one of these places, defenseless, laying in the bed? And I would tell you the answer to that question. There's nobody. You're on your own. You're 89, 90 years old. You're laying in the bed in a nursing home trying to recuperate from a fall, from a stroke, from a myriad of different issues that can arise. And you do not have anybody there at the foot of your bed all day, every day, worried about you. You're lucky that they bring you the tray in a timely fashion with what they call a dinner or a breakfast. You're lucky if you get to see a doctor for more than, 5-10 minutes, cruising through, doing rounds. You're lucky if your bed and your linens are clean. You're lucky if they don't tell you, just go in your diaper and we'll get around to it later, and nobody shows up for 2 hours. Oh, you think that doesn't happen? You think that's not the case? Then you haven't been around a nursing home recently. Or, given the pandemic, nobody can get in to see you. You're going to hope that what was going to happen is that when a crisis befell you, we could all jump in to the lifeboat with you and start doing documents and take care of business, because you didn't get around to it. You kept putting it off. You didn't want to write a check, whatever your rationale was. And your kids come flying into town. They say, they come into our office and they show us what you've got in the way of documentation. And I'm going, I'm so uncomfortable telling you that what you have now is a real problem on your hands, because we can't even get into the facility to get them to sign something and notarize it. And so all of these issues are starting to build up on the American public and seniors right now. And the solution is as simple and as easy as picking up the phone and calling 760-422-0404 and finding out what you could do if you decided to. 422-0404. Here's my documents. Here's what I did 10 years ago. Is this going to work? We never did get around to setting up anything. We never did get around to taking care of business. What do you think we should be doing? Well, I want to avoid probate. I want to answer the question of what happens when I die, and I want to do that effectively because it's very important to me to leave a legacy for my family. But would you also be interested in, if you did get thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of benefits through Medi-Cal to pay for your long-term care, to have a strategy in which you do not have to ever worry about a lien on your house? There would be no lien on your house if you structure a plan for yourself today that will protect your home as a legacy, either for the benefit of your children or to be sold, and those funds to be protected and to be used to supplement your care in a facility, to make sure you get the extras, to make sure somebody is keeping an eye on you, is delivering services to you, is keeping you clean, keeping you safe, making sure you're hydrated. We live in a desert. One of the biggest reasons people go from the nursing home back to the hospital is urinary tract infections, UTIs. What's that come from? They're dehydrated. What's the solution for dehydration, do you think? Oh, I don't know. Let me think. Water. Water that I have access to. Does it do a 90-year-old man any good to have a carafe of water sitting on a bedstand next to him in an empty glass? When in fact what he really needs is somebody to put the water from the carafe into the glass and put a sippy straw into the glass and coax him to take another sip to maintain his hydration and safety and to avoid becoming septic. So there are small things that add up to big quality outcomes. That's the information we want to share with you. That's our bargain with families and seniors, and has been for the last 25 years at the California Elder Law Center. We will give you straight answers, accurate information, and we will tell you everything about how it works before you obligate yourself to anything. We are interested in having clients join us as a provider of services for seniors and their families, as elder law attorneys, as members of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. We are interested in you joining us together, not selling something to somebody. We have no interest in that whatsoever. People become our clients willingly. They understand the value of having prepared themselves and their family to avoid the burdens of long-term care. They are able to have some level of comfort or confidence that they will be able to stay at home when others are not going to be able to do that. They understand that they don't necessarily need to worry about going broke because they did investigate and prepare and protect themselves. And they are overwhelmingly joyful in the fact that they're not going to be a burden on their children. They're not going to be a burden on their family, that they have taken steps and measures that are responsible to not only give them quality care, but even more importantly is to stay off of the doorstep
The cost
of
of
their
long-term
children.
care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center, elder law attorney for these 25 past years. We have literally helped thousands of families throughout Southern California, and we continue to do that. And we do that by, in many cases, providing free services to you in the form of, you can go on our website, www.cal-elder, ELDER, law, LAW.com, calelderlaw.com. And there are free documents. They are documents that are available to you, like a durable power of attorney, an advanced health care directive. And these documents have been provided to you for free for you to download and use, because so many of the healthcare providers during this pandemic have been befuddled and restricted in trying to help an individual, especially a senior, who has not prepared their documents, or their documents are so old and so dated they're not effective anymore. And so we want you to have decent documents, and they're free. I don't know how else to do this, make it any easier on you. But most of you really want to dig in deeper. You want to make sure you're taking care of your spouse. You want to make sure that if you are an individual who has a home, who has some assets, that which ones count, which ones don't. Is there some way I'm a veteran. I was a veteran of World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf. Is there anything for me? Is there anything for my spouse? And the answer to that is yes. Yes, there's like $26,000 a year tax-free money is available to you. And so and that pays for your care at home, or perhaps your care in assisted living, or board and care or memory care unit. Medi-Cal will pay for up to $10,000 a month to pay for your care in a nursing home. And so all of these different issues arise, issues that you normally would not have the expertise to handle necessarily on your own, and certainly you won't be able to handle it if you're the one laying flat on your back in the bed. So what do you do about all this stuff? How do you cope with all this stuff? Well, you reach out and you get information. That's what you do. You get information. Now, there's another issue floating around here that really, really needs to be addressed. And it's a very, very difficult situation. If you are struggling with the idea of getting vaccinated during this pandemic, and you don't know where to go or how to get there, to make an appointment and what you have to do, and then you got to come back in 3 weeks and get the second dose and all those kinds of issues, all you have to do is dial 211. 211. That's the number for Riverside County for you to get information. Now, the information they're going to give you is a website, and you have to go to that website to make your appointment. You can get your vaccination now at a lot of different places. You can, like Costco and drugstores and supermarkets, and so there's a lot of places now that are available to you. The fairgrounds in Indio, over at the hospitals, and so there are places and there are answers. And I happened to yesterday I had my first experience with getting vaccinated. Now, I will tell you, while I was sitting there waiting, I happened to get it in a Costco store. And while I was sitting there waiting, there were a lot of Costco shoppers that were elderly, were coming up, and they're very uncomfortable with going online. They didn't know how to do it. They had trouble reading even the small print as far as what's supposed to happen to get their appointment. And what about people that don't have a computer? What about people that don't have an internet hookup? And it is imperative that all of us get vaccinated to protect ourselves and to protect other people. That's the only way we're going to get ahead of this. And even if you've been vaccinated, you still must wear a mask. You still must do distancing. You still must be careful about going into closed environments. But it is the pathway to get out from our nightmare. But what do we do with our seniors? How do we handle this? I am appealing to you listening to this radio show right now. If you have a neighbor who struggles with accessing a computer, which is not sure about how to handle this, they need help. Volunteer, knock on their door. Let me see if I can set you up. Take a few minutes to help somebody else. That's how we'll get through this. That's how you can have a meaningful impact on putting an end to this pandemic. We are not out of the woods with this thing. It's not over, and it may not be over for a while for a lot of technical reasons. That's not the issue. The issue is the best thing that you can do for yourself is to get vaccinated. The best thing you can do for your soul is to help a senior who can't handle the process of going online to get it taken care of. Sit down at their computer, help them do it, get them an appointment, and from there on out, they're going to be okay. If you know somebody who doesn't have access to a computer or struggles with a language issue, you need to help them. You need to reach out and get involved in this process. We're all better for it. And you will be the one who will get the chair up front in heaven if you do it. One of the reasons we keep talking to you about getting your documents put in place, even if it's just estate planning documents, but we don't do estate planning just to answer the question of what happens when you die. We do estate planning to deal with that issue, but we also want to address what happens if I live? Who's going to take care of me? How am I going to pay for it? Is that an elder law attorney can sit there and embed in your documents, if they've been updated, if they are effective, they can embed in their powers for your trustee or the spouse for each other to deal with a catastrophic illness. That is to move forward and access public benefits, for instance, like Medi-Cal in a nursing home, and to get some relief from the $10,298 a month that you're going to be dealing with. That's a lot of money. And that is a typical middle-class family fiscal disaster. Not to mention the fact the quality of care is horribly suspect. There's nothing to be gained from that kind of care. There's nothing to be gained from what you're going to get if you pay the $10,000 or you don't pay the $10,000. That's just the nature of the beast. Now, there's a limitation we're all facing right now because of the pandemic is we can't hire that caregiver to go in and supplement your care, which is typically what we would do. But what we can do is we can show you resources and introduce you to different levels of resources that you very well may afford that will provide you with excellent care, especially if your family that you're counting on doesn't live here in the Valley. The ability to reach out to a medical professional who can back you up, that can provide you with the services that are necessary at a price that's remarkably inexpensive, but incredibly powerful. To send you to somebody who deals with Medicare supplemental insurance policies to make sure you're getting everything you're entitled to underneath those programs. And they have new programs this past year. Important programs that are very powerful, that very low cost considering how much you're going to get. But you need access to those resources. You need to have some kind of a focal point to get started. I had a gentleman came in here with his daughter, lots of kids. Everybody is supposed to get reimbursed for money they paid for mom. It's been a very complicated situation. Mother has now passed away. Dad is struggling. And his daughter, who is loving daughter, is taking care of him. And she is really the tip of the spear for the rest of the family. And it's a huge burden on her. But if your daughter doesn't live here in the Coachella Valley, you're in real trouble, because she can't physically be here to take care of it, but there's a way to deal with that. Those are the kind of resources that good quality elder law can provide you. Aging options, it's called. And aging options allows you to entertain different ways to pay for your care and different ways to assure you're getting the highest possible care possible without going broke doing it. But you need to take action. 760-422-0404. 760-422-0404. It will give you the opportunity to get answers and to have information shared with you and your family. You know, nowadays we have the adult kids, even if they live far away, are on a Zoom meeting, and they're able to participate in that meeting while you're sitting right there. And no, you don't have to be a computer wonk to get this stuff done. You just need to be in a situation in which you have an open mind and you're in a fact-gathering mode. You can't make a decent decision for yourself until you have the information. That's the challenge. That, and over and over and over again, I have been told that the true value families have in doing something with the California Elder Law Center is that they have a resource when something happens to pick up the phone and call and yell help and get information and find out what they should be doing next and what they should say and how they should be expecting to have their loved ones treated and taken care of and to enforce their rights. That's the difference. That's what's going on at the California Elder Law Center. And all they had to do was pick up the phone and call 422-0404 and see about getting a consultation, getting the ball rolling, educating themselves. It's very rare that somebody gets all the information that they don't want to take some kind of action, because it's self-evident how much it can be of value to you, your spouse, and to your children. Stuff is hard enough. It's hard enough dealing with this. It is so much harder today. I would tell you the medical system can in some cases be ruthless. And so you need to protect yourself and your rights. You need to know that there's somebody in your corner that's actually read the law as well. So until next week, this is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center saying thank you for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you or your friends in the very near future.
The preceding program was a paid presentation from the California Elder Law Center. The information and opinions expressed herein are solely those of the California Elder Law Center and not the opinions of KNews, Alpha Media, management, or employees.